Hi, I'm Mellie Miller, and welcome to this solo episode of Who Does She Think She Is?
Audacious financial journeys with tremendous Black women. I'm Mellie Miller, 30-year bank exec that you wish has always been your friend. Who does she think she is?
Today, I want to discuss reward culture. It's elusive. We strive for it as leaders. We want to build it. We want to create it. We know when we have it, and we absolutely know when we don't. What's most important to me in this moment is making sure that you have some background knowledge and information on how to build the strongest and most authentic reward culture possible. Because it truly is up to you. It's up to us. So I want to start by saying that you already have reward culture. I'm not saying it's a good reward culture. I'm saying that you have already built and created an environment where folks around you expect a certain type of behavior, acknowledgement, and not just at work. I'm talking about reward culture that you've crafted and shaped and nurtured at work, at home, with your friends and in community, and with yourself. It's true. Everything that we've done has shaped and contributed to the reward culture that I'm talking about. So the real question is not necessarily how do I build one, but what type of reward culture have I fostered that's already existing? So like I mentioned before, reward culture isn't some abstract concept that is only served up by the C-suite. It's the way that you parent your children, the way that you acknowledge and recognize friends, your partner, or yourself is everywhere. And whether you are unintentional about how you build it or not, what you do still has an impact. So I'd like to take this time with you to focus on building a healthy and intentional reward culture together. And the only way that this is going to work is if I have your permission. So before I even take a step into a space that I haven't been invited, I'm going to pause here and say, are you ready? Are you willing to engage in a reward culture conversation where you do two things, two very important things? Number one, honestly reflect on the type of reward culture that you've built already. Don't worry, I have prompts. And number two, now that you've acknowledged what that culture is like, a willingness and an appetite to make it better. If those two things aren't of interest to you, then this conversation is probably not of interest to you. So I'm going to save you some time. But for those of you who do believe that it matters and understand the social capital, the parenting potential, the professional exponential growth that waits on the other side of this conversation, then stick around because we're gonna get in it and we're gonna be honest about it. And I'm so ready. Here are a few. All right, I lied. 4. Here are 4 very clear and conscious ways to recognize the type of reward culture that you've built, and in doing so, how to refine it. The first has everything to do with trust and respect and credibility. Everything feels like it's based on trust, doesn't it? Trust isn't automatic, it's something that's built over time. What I often tell leaders that I have the privilege of working with is that trust is not owed to you. You don't walk into a room and immediately get respect. To assume that without earning it, without earning that degree of authority in relationship, and assuming that you just get it is awfully entitled, isn't it? Is that not the actual definition of the word entitled? Expecting something that you didn't earn? So when I think about the way that leaders function. The question that I would offer you is this: are you leading from a position of earned authority, or are you simply assuming that the respect and the trust and the credibility is just automatically yours and assumed? I'm going to pause there and let you sit on that. Now, you don't owe me an answer, but you certainly owe yourself an answer. Once you recognize the position that you've historically taken, am I assuming authority or have I earned it? Once you know where you're positioned, I'm going to take it a step further and ask you, this is sort of extra credit, but ask you, what are some of the ways that you've earned it or the behaviors that demonstrate how you've assumed it? That might help you dig a little deeper. People respond to what you model, what you say. If you expect trust and respect to just be given to you, wouldn't it be appropriate that you lead with trust and respect? I really feel compelled to sip some wine in this moment as I reflect on my shortcomings and my successes. There are some things I do well, patting myself on the back. But truly, walking into any room, allowing a parent, a teacher, a political leader to pave the way for your future doesn't come without a cost, doesn't come without effort, or perhaps it shouldn't. But in my case, I make folks earn it. Even though I'm very trusting, I do. I make folks earn it. The second critical element or aspect that I would like to lead with as it relates to building a reward-based culture is energy, power, emotion. All of those things are what make us human. Now, I've mentioned this before. I don't see there being a problem mentioning it again. I lead with emotion. I'm an emotional human. While I might be a full brain person and deeply analytical and structural and very much focused on process and infrastructure as a thinker and a leader, by nature of my humanity, I am deeply empathetic and I lead with emotion. And I'm not the only one out there. Energy and power and emotion carry a lot of weight in relationships and how people feel. You may have read The 5 Love Languages. There's a number of books talking about how emotion presents itself in the workplace. We are not robots. This idea that emotion can just be left at the door when you walk into your place of business, I think we can all agree that that's not true. So what then? Well, I will say this. I have learned over countless years of leadership and executive coaching and financial management that culture is driven by how we emote, how we respond, how we feel in environments and places. Emotion is the operational dynamic and the building block of culture. Your tone, your body language, availability, all of this sends a signal to folks that you live with and work with and share a life with. Power lives. I'm getting choked up here, literally, actually. Power lives in the undercurrent of emotion. So take stock. Here's my guiding question for you. Here's how you can determine how your emotion and energy impact your reward culture. Are you listening? Okay. What is the energy that you bring into the room? How would you characterize that energy? Do you lead with a sense of calm, a sense of urgency? Do you walk in with dominance, ready to hug someone, your team, your family? The people that you share space and time with are a reflection of your energy and in many ways are a mirror. Your culture, the culture that you build, mirrors your energy. Yes, I have examples. And the one that I will offer you without outing any member of my family or member of my team is that I am wholly aware of my superpowers and my neurodivergence. To me, they're one and the same. I have ADHD and OCD. And those are a reflection of the sense of urgency that I feel, everything that's important to me in life. Now, those dominant feelings and thoughts are constantly churning and competing with one another for space in my heart and in my mind. And sometimes even competing for space with the words that come out of my mouth. It's also the case that the heavy O in my OCD, which is very obsessive, is more disciplined and structural and consistent and wants to create order out of everything, even the things that I might not be able to create order and structure with. So, somewhere in the sense of urgency and frantic chaos that's going on in my mind, on one side, and the order that I seek that gives me peace and calm on the other, they find a place together, but they don't always. Sometimes those energies are in conflict, or one is underutilized on a particular day and just wants to break free. Whichever side of me, and yes, you guessed it, I'm also a Gemini, whichever side of me is emerging in that moment tends to set the tone for the type of day or meeting or experience with my family that I might have. If I walk into a major event, crowded and chaotic in my mind, that is exactly how I will behave, the exact way I will engage with others, and the tone that I pass along to every single member of my team that has showed up to help me as a leader. That isn't always the type of energy that I'm looking to deploy or receive in return. I hope that example helped and that I wasn't just rambling and telling you all my business. I like to tell for a reason. I thought this was valuable. The next really valuable way to determine the type of culture, the type of reward culture that you've built in your life and around you, and also unpack a way to refine it, is something that is external. And oftentimes we feel like it's outside of our control. And that is the timeline. But I have a secret for you. Timeline is definitely within your control. There are a number of leaders out there, primarily highly skilled, audacious Black women that are capable of doing so many things quickly and efficiently and effectively. As a result, if you are one of those humans that can do a lot of things well, a lot of things quickly, and a lot of things effectively, people will begin to, don't get mad at them, they will begin to expect that that is how you function all the time. But not every obstacle or opportunity in life needs to be done in the next 5 minutes. It doesn't. Some things can actually wait a day, 2 days, 72 hours, a week. Some things can even wait a month. It's true. So timing is something that in ways might be outside of your control because of benchmarks or schedules or deadlines that are created outside of your sphere of influence. And it's also the case that you have a great deal of influence over those timelines. So, what influences those timelines? Urgency, opportunity, value creation. All of those things can move the timeline needle. So you might be asking yourself, what is the connection between urgency of opportunity and timeline in value creation and reward culture? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Your ability as a leader and as a parent to prioritize engagement, recognition, reparations. See how I threw that in there? Sometimes even negative feedback, course correction. All of these actions can take on a different meaning and a shape and form and have even greater or less impact based on when you choose to deliver them or engage in them. Respect is reflected for many leaders in how we manage our time. Reward culture recognizes that that sense of urgency can tell a story about how important something is to you. When someone that you're training or developing has a question, do you roll your eyes and say, I'll get to it when I can get to it? Or do you understand that the urgency and timing that you build or create can directly impact when they deliver something that you perhaps have asked for, how they see their value to the organization or to your team, how they recognize their importance to you as a team member? All of these things matter. And for my parents out there, I'm sure you can parallels. One of the things that I've learned to do, because I'm kind of a pushover at times as a parent, or have been at the past, I'm so much better now. I am so. Anyway, as a parent, I recognize that having more than one child means that there's multiple humans in this world that are looking to me for counsel, support, nurturing, basic needs, food, water, somewhere to sleep, a number of different things. And when they were smaller, they all wanted their needs to be addressed at the same time. While it was much more difficult back then to explain how things fell into a certain priority and what needs were greater than others, it's incredibly, well, I shouldn't say incredibly easy. It's much easier now that they're older and can be reasoned with. Same thing with my clients and my team members. Everyone might initially believe and want their projects to be done at the same time. But if they understand that there are a number of urgencies that are on my plate and that their request or their need is also very important to me, being able to gauge how critical of a timeline they're dealing with and what the true deadlines are. So I'd say the most effective way leveraging time and opportunity is that every meaningful task can be placed somewhere in a timeline, and communicating and committing and having conversations focused on understanding the sense of urgency or lack thereof of everyone involved is the first key way to honor everyone's time. Making sure that goals and priorities are visible, timelines are clear, performance stays on track. When you respect time, people understand what matters to you because your priorities are directly reflected in the urgencies or in the tasks that you address first. So, how are you managing your time? And what priorities do you find yourself addressing the earliest? Are you ready for the fourth key element, the fourth tool to help you assess the type of reward culture you've built and take it to the next level? I already mentioned it, so you can probably guess what it is. Guidelines. They are guidelines. Guidelines, values, and logic. These are the elements, the framework of any type of culture. Culture needs clarity. Culture calls for boundaries and oftentimes a system or a process. Not everyone in your home or even in your workforce or in your friendship circle come to the table with the same cultural guidelines, whether it's reward culture or any other type of culture. They come to the table as their whole selves, built and created and fostered from a series of life experiences and the type of culture that surrounded them when they were growing up. The culture and the nuances and the opportunities that helped shape them as adults. Where they live, how they live, all of these things come together with identity to shape an individual culture. So what do you do if you're a manager? Corralling and bringing together all of these strangers from different cultures to find and create and build a culture with synergy? Well, guidelines, rules, values. Now, I mentioned logic, but I'd like to be careful here and say that logic is dictated by what you believe, and what you believe has its basis in values and culture and upbringing. So before a leader can really embark on any type of culture curating journey intentionally, you already have, but on purpose, it really does behoove you to understand and unpack and explore the the belief system and the values that each person is coming to the table with. Now, I know in some spaces that can feel like you're overstepping, but I'm not suggesting by any means that you talk about religion. You can if you want, if it's appropriate. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is people have their own sense of core values, what they look for in relationships, in job opportunities, in the house that they want to buy, in the club that they want to join, in the group of friends they want to be a part of. Those core values are the foundation of the culture that they as an individual would drive. But if we have 10, 20, 30, in my home, 5 people that we're bringing together, building a reward culture together requires more than just saying what matters to you. You need to make it accessible and understand what matters to others. Those common values become and help shape the guidelines that model your reward culture. If we want to bring everyone together, then everyone needs to see themselves in the culture that you're creating. Those values, the guidelines that come of those values. For example, I value joy and grit and purpose. I want to smile. I want to laugh. I want to have a good time. But it's important to recognize that that joy should not, or perhaps I don't want it to. We as a group collectively decide that joy is okay, but joy imposed on others, where they experience the opposite of joy as a result, perhaps isn't okay. So whatever is driving my joy, maybe there are certain ways for me to embark on that joyful experience in a way that does not offend or harm anyone else. We can build guidelines around that. Purpose, grit. I like to work hard, and I want to know that I'm working towards a goal. Fair enough. As a leader with objectives and deadlines, I'm not the only one. I work with a team of professionals that want that too, but I might not be thinking about their goals, and they might not be thinking about mine. Now, in a perfect world, we would be. Those goals might have guidelines and infrastructure attached to them. As a CEO working with a chief communications officer, she has deadlines, goals, and obligations to meet with our external press partners. Internally, I have production and thought leadership and other deadlines that I'm looking to meet. Now, in order for me to do my job well and for her to do her job well, we on projects that we share, we need to come together and devise a standard cadence or schedule that could help the both of us achieve our separate objectives and still meet our shared goals. So we built a schedule that works for the both of us, and a cadence on when we will meet that does not present a conflict with the company's direct PR clients or our service partners. But it does meet both of our needs and gives us both enough advance notice and capacity to effectively deliver to our overarching expectations. But we had to build a timeline and a map to honor that, and that would be an example. So leading with consistency when it comes to respecting values and understanding the logical progression and framing of how to keep a rewards culture consistent and in place, infrastructure can be necessary. Rules might be necessary. Calling out of values. The most effective type of reward culture is one that is documented, accessible, visible, and agreed upon. Try it in every space that's available to you, and you might be surprised. So here's where I'm going to challenge you further. We talked about the 4 different aspects of building and sustaining a reward culture. 4. I know, right? It seems like a lot. Not a lot? Too few? Well, listen, it's just that easy, and I apply them every day. And I want you to be thinking about them too. Trust and respect. That's number one. Trust and respect lead to credibility, energy, and power. Create an opportunity to build momentum. It's an invisible characteristic, but an incredibly valuable one. The third is timing and the opportunity and urgency that you create and recognize in that timing, how you manage it, how you navigate it. And then the fourth is one of my favorite words: rules, infrastructure, guidelines, the way that you structurally create and reinforce a system and a culture that you love. In order for it to sustain, it needs to be visible, consistent, repeated, documented. And to go back to the other three, logical, powerful, have an opportunity to create momentum with it, and absolutely respectful of others. So, yes, you could start this tomorrow. And I know some of you might even be thinking that that's exactly what you're going to do. I'm going to start this tomorrow. I'm going to sleep on it and think of all of the ways that I could implement these strategies tomorrow. You don't have until, because everything that you do in every waking moment of time that you have available impacts your environment and your life. I'm going to challenge you. Don't wait for tomorrow. The gaps in your reward culture have already shaped outcomes in your space, in your world, and for those that you care about and work with. So I would challenge you to recognize and acknowledge everything that you've heard me say today. The 4 different areas of opportunity to build, grow, refine, and sustain a reward culture. And I would challenge you to make small tweaks right now. You can't unlearn or unhear what you were just exposed to. And I really don't want to see you try. Instead, I would encourage you to start small and get activated. And then come back. And we can talk about it again some other time. But you have an opportunity in front of you to refine and improve the reward culture that you've already created. And I would offer you this: whatever reward culture you've built and are refining and honing, please make sure it's a reflection of values that are meaningful to you and to those